everyone, this will be a quick guide on how to grind Elvia Hexe Sanctuary. The required AP for this spot is 1100. This is the best spot in the game until you unlock Tungrid Ruins, but I'll go over it a bit more when we talk about the results at the end. These were the crystals I was running. You don't really need resist for this spot, so you can just go with a full AP setup. But as always, if you're above the cap, you can run some BSR dons and some bitternesses for the R. For Lightstone sets, this spot does not have a monster type, so if you don't meet the caps, I still recommend you run Vicious Shadow or Deathblow depending on which one you need. Now, we're gonna talk about the mechanics of the spot, but first I would like to have you know that there is a big difference between grinding inside or outside the Marni Realm, and you can easily make 15 to 20% more trash loot inside Marni. After explaining the mechanics, I'll go a bit over the difference between the two. So, when you first arrive at the spot, you'll notice there will be a mob that you can't hit that has a grave on its back. That's the Wormrit. Each pack area will have its own Wormrit. When you kill skeletons around this Ripper mob, they'll drop red souls on the ground, which the Wormrit will then proceed to absorb. After absorbing enough of these souls, you'll see a message that starts with "satiated by the souls." When that happens, the Wormrit will attack you, and you will finally be hittable. By killing him, the souls that he harvested go berserk, and you start a tide event, where mobs will be summoned non-stop on the spot where the Wormrit died. That's the only mechanic of this spot. Sometimes there will be boss events. If Ex Marie appears, that's an event specific to this spot. She's a simple boss that will give you some trash loot and higher chance at the despair. You can also get the Elva specific bosses. These events happen in every Calphian Elvia spot, and when you kill the boss, which can be a Gigagord, a Cyclops, or an Ogre, you'll get a buff for 5 minutes that will let one-shot every mob in the area. You can't get this buff more than once every 30 minutes, as you also get the debuff that you can see on your buff bar. Now, let's talk about the strategy on how to grind this spot properly. As I said, there's a difference between grinding inside and outside Marni. I'm gonna go over Marni first, because it's the one that will produce the best results. On Marni, there will only be 3 Wormrits, and the spawn rate is much faster. When you first start grinding, it will take 4 to 5 rotations to charge the Wormrit for the first time. The strategy on the Marni Realm is very simple. You stay on a pack for a maximum of 10 to 20 seconds. You kill 2 waves and you move on to the next one, even if there's still mobs alive. When you kill a Wormrit, you leave the pack right away as well. You don't stay to kill the event. This is because you want to use those mobs to charge the next Wormrit that will spawn the next time you come. Grinding inside the Marni Realm requires way less knowledge about the spot and is much easier, as well as giving you better results. However, Marni Realm has a cooldown of 1 hour in between your grind sessions, which can be a bit annoying for most people. As for grinding outside the Marni Realm, things get a bit more complicated. First, you want a rotation to have at least 5 packs. This might seem weird, as the mobs respawn way faster than that. However, you do it because the Wormrit respawn time is much longer, and you want it to be alive or close to respawning by the time you come back to the pack. Therefore, you need more packs for that to happen. Outside the Marni Realm, there's also more mobs, and it would only take 2 rotations to charge up a Wormrit for the first time. The strategy outside is still very similar to inside the Marni Realm. When you kill a Wormrit, you always instantly leave and don't kill the wave that he spawns. However, because there is more normal mobs around the spot, during packs you usually stay a bit longer outside the Marni Realm than on the inside. Also, when you're killing the waves, all the loot that you leave behind will despawn by the time you're back, unlike in the Marni Realm. So you should try to linger a bit longer while grinding outside and manually pick up some trash, which can be a bit annoying. So, moving on to the results. There is a lot to consider here. First of all, you want a minimum of 1 tier 5 pet and 4 tier 3 pets. This spot is very pet dependent, as it's not a tower spot and it's very high density. A lot of your money will come for Crystallized Despairs. So this spot money is also dependent on the price of those items, and therefore the amount of item drop rates that you have currently. Inside Marni Realm, with the perfect setup, which I don't expect mid-game players to have, you can easily make a minimum of 2.5 bill with Agris. That will be around 55k trash in an hour, and with Despairs roughly at 30 mil. If you don't have full drop rate, and have tier 3 pets instead of tier 4, you can still make more than 2 bill an hour here with Agris. But remember, when you go outside the Marni Realm, your trash loot will drop by 15 to 20%. So I don't recommend grinding Hexe Sanctuary outside the Marni Realm unless you have a perfect setup. That's it for the video. I know it was a very long one, but I really like Hexe Sanctuary, and these are basically two different spots because of the Marni and non-Marni distinction. Good luck everyone.